Welcome to Timeless Talks with Telly. I'm Telly, and this week, we are going to be talking about self awareness, what it is, why it's important, and how we can implement more of it in our day to day lives so that we're more aware of who we are, how we show up, and how we show up within our community. The textbook definition of awareness, self awareness, is the knowledge of one's own character, emotions, desires, and motives. Some key traits of a self aware individual are you know what's happening around you. You're able to take a step back and look inside. You're able to self reflect. You understand how your emotions affect yourself and affect the people around you. You're able to deal with your own emotions and you're able to comfortably deal with other people's emotions around you as well, even if it may be an uncomfortable situation. When you are self aware, you're typically living a happy and balanced life because you know who you are and you're confident in that. You've already dealt with the questions or the discrepancies or the uncertainties that you may have had within yourself, and you've asked yourself the hard questions. So when people try to throw things at you, not physically, maybe physically, but figuratively, and try to attack your character or say things that discredit you as a person, you are able to handle it in a way that is mature, in a way that's high level thinking, because you've already dealt with it, you've already faced it, you already know what the root of it is. It's so important to bring these things up because people these days are walking around and they don't know themselves. They don't care to know themselves, and they're not willing to get to know themselves on a deeper level. Now, I understand if you're dealing with issues or traumas from childhood. We all are to an extent, even myself. People will say, "Oh my gosh, you articulated that so beautifully." And I appreciate that. And I take that wholeheartedly. I receive that wholeheartedly. But the truth of the matter is that the work to get to this point is not easy. It's not pretty. It's ugly. And oh my gosh, a hummingbird just visited me. I'm sorry. And it's important to take the time to do that, because when you're self aware, again, you're able to show up for yourself better. You're able to show up for others better, wholeheartedly, presently, and fully, because sometimes we're in the present, but we're not always there mentally and emotionally. When you're self aware and you do that work, you're able to do that. Now, what's the work? What are the questions that we need to ask ourselves? One main question you need to ask yourself is, why do I think the way I think? Why do I get mad at the things I get mad at? Why do I get sad about the things I get sad about? Why do I get jealous about the things I get jealous about? Yeah, that'll be another topic too, because jealousy is an emotion and it is a natural emotion. But what is unnatural and what's the difference between that jealousy turning into envy is you being able to ask yourself, why do I feel that way? And it's also connected to being open minded. When you are aware of your surroundings and how you think and the way you process things, the way you interpret things, you're able to open up your mind and say, oh, wow, there may be more than one outcome. This actually may not be the reason why they did this, or that may not be the reason why they did this, or I acted this way because of X, Y, and Z, right? You're able to self assess, and self assessment comes with self reflection, and self reflection comes with self awareness, and self awareness comes with self honesty. Are you honest with yourself? Are you honest about what you're feeling? Are you curious about what you're feeling? Are you curious about learning more about why and how you show up the way you do in life? It doesn't always have to be a negative thing. It can be a positive thing, actually, if you allow it to be. If you take down your guard, if you take off your armor, right? Self awareness is the key to living a true and fulfilled life. Because again, when you are self aware, and you know who you are, and I don't just mean physically, but you know who you are emotionally, you know what may trigger you, and you're aware of how to navigate through that trigger. Because here's the thing, being self-aware doesn't mean that you still won't be triggered. Being self-aware doesn't mean that you still won't face things that are tough emotionally, but it means that you know how to handle it because you've been here before. You have the tools because you've done the work. And again, doing the work means you're asking yourself the hard questions. You're asking yourself the in-depth questions, the introspective questions. Why? Funny little tidbit, when I started cheering in high school, my nickname was actually Questions. And I was talking to a friend about this the other day. And they called me Questions because I asked so many questions. If something didn't make sense, I would ask questions. And I kept that with me throughout my entire life. Clearly, if something doesn't make sense, or if I want to know about something, about a subject more in depth, then I ask questions, I do the research. And these days it's so important to do that because we have the world at our fingertips and no one's using it for the greater good. It would be so beneficial if more people would ask themselves, well, why do I feel jealous? Or why do I feel like I'm entitled? Or why do I feel like you owe me that? Or why do I feel like I can't give this to myself? Why do you feel like you need to be validated externally, right? That's an example. Ask yourself that question, but people don't ask themselves that question. People, when it gets too complicated or it gets too in depth or it gets too much like actually having to think about something, people take a step back. And that says a lot. Me, I'm up for the challenge. I want to know. Let's talk about it. Let's dig deeper. Self awareness is important because if you want to make an impact in this life, you have to know how to deal with yourself. You have to know how people operate, and you have to know how to show up within community. That's how you become a people person. And maybe you don't necessarily want to become a people person, but that's how you're able to communicate in general. That's how you're able to make your way through life and experience the fullness of life, being curious about what's happening inside of you, what's happening around you, and how you can continuously improve and do better and learn more. That's what it's about at the end of the day. It's about learning. Self awareness is about learning. And I don't know about you, but I'm obsessed with learning, especially about myself in this life. I believe that humans are the most intricate, interesting, exotic beings, and there's so much more for us to learn. So I challenge you to not stop at Meta AI and typing your question and it just spitting out an answer. I challenge you to go beyond, to go further, to dig deeper, no matter how painful. This isn't work that you're boasting and showing other people. This isn't work that you're gloating about. This is work that you're doing for you in order to live your life to the fullest. That's what I want for you, is to become more self-aware. You got this. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Timeless Talks with Telly. I will see you next Sunday. Have a marvelous rest of your day.